Let's do this. Online interview for you guys to kind of tell you my story in regards to financial accountability and responsibility, and just kind of share my story of how I got to be debt free. So without further ado, here we go. So I started William Jessup in 2009. I started right about a year after the market crash in 2008. Originally I wanted to do film scoring. I had some experience in composing in the past, and I really wanted to do that as a career. My parents were a little concerned about my academic endeavors. They wanted me to essentially pursue business. So at the time I was a double major, and I decided to do both business and music. Even though Jessup didn't have a very strong film scoring curriculum and program, I still felt that Jessup was where it was going to be best to pursue music, and yeah, so that's what I did. So let me talk a little bit about pre-graduation. When I was a junior, I had a professor essentially say, if you are a business major, you're getting your bachelor's in it, it's going to be best to get your master's in it, because you're going to graduate amongst your peers with just a bachelor's. If you don't have any work experience, how are you going to stand out amongst all your peers that are going to be in competition for the workforce? And that really resonated with me, even though I was a junior, even though I was really focusing on music at the time. It really got me concerned about what job opportunities I would get. The economy still wasn't doing super great. So that really got me thinking, you know, what do I need to do? Do I need to stay with Jessup, stay with my second bachelor's, or should I go and try to get something different? And then essentially what happened was during my last semester, I kind of cut it short. December of 2012, my roommate and I, we were planning to go and get an apartment. He lost his job. I had applied to live off campus, and I couldn't afford to be on campus, so I was essentially homeless. I had to drop my business degree because it would have been an extra year for me as a senior, and I just decided, no, I need to drop this. I need to make it just music. I essentially spent a good few weeks trying to get into classes that I needed, reconstruct my catalog that I was on, drop the business plan, and do what I needed to do to graduate in the spring of 2013. Before that though, I had a talk with one of my professors. She was the director of the piano program of which I was in, and she and I had a candid talk, and she pretty much told me, you know what, Zach, I can't believe I'm telling you this. I can't believe I'm telling you to not stay at Jessup, but I would graduate with just your music degree and apply just to go and get your MBA in graduate school. Just, if it's gonna take a year or two, why just get the bachelor's? Go ahead and get the master's degree. So my last semester at William Jessup, I was setting up a graduate packet to essentially go and obtain my MBA at Liberty University. And so that's what I did. So after graduation, I moved back home. I essentially lived about 300 miles away from William Jessup. So I moved back home. I entered into my graduate program. It was an 11-month accelerated MBA program, which I will never do again. And the economy wasn't super great, and no one was hiring full-time music positions, so I was just trying to find work any way that I could. I moved back up to Placer County in Granite Bay around March 2014. I got a job working at Thunder Valley, still in my MBA program, and I would work from 6 p.m. to 2 a.m. I would go to bed, and I would do school from 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. And I did that. I did that until September of 2014, which is essentially when I graduated my MBA program. And then about a month after that, I got a full-time position for a nonprofit in Sacramento. I did that for about 2.5 years, and then I got an opportunity to go work for a college as a budget analyst, which is a program director level position that essentially monitors adjusts and does financial analysis for all the funding for the college. And I did that for about 1.5 years, and then I left to go up to Auburn for an accounting manager position, but unfortunately I got laid off. But you know what, I am back at the college. They were very gracious to let me come back. I'm here as a temporary worker, so if you just keep me in your prayers, that would be great. I actually wasn't the normal music major. I had some friends within the music department, but you know, I'm not someone who sings every 5 minutes of my life. I'm not someone who you know, wants to talk about music theory or play an instrument. I'm very serious. I'm very you know, I'm a planner. And so for me, despite being in the music department, I really aligned myself with people outside of my major, like business. You know, I was just a different breed of person. You know, I grew up working when I was about 12 years old. I was always told that if I wanted money, I had to go work for it. So when I was 12, I was working at a barbershop as a little janitor. Doing that until I was 16, which is when I got my first part-time job, and I've just been working ever since. So I think for me, you know, being a music major, it wasn't a representation necessarily of who I was as a person. It was just me being in a music field. In regards to getting into the finance world, that was kind of done on accident. When I interviewed for the receptionist job in Sacramento, the CEO kept asking me, well, could you do accounting if the opportunity presented itself? And I told her I would rather not, just because while I've taken courses, you know, accounting just isn't really what I want to do, and it's not really something that I'm proficient in. I'm much better in, you know, an HR capacity or an office management capacity. But they fired an accountant 5 months into my being there. It was essentially her that got me the position. They took a big chance on me and said, you know, even though this kid doesn't have the skills, we're going to teach him how to do it. I was 22 at the time, working in grant accounting for federal and state grants and projects. So it was very frightening. She had me apply to that job, and I remember in the interview I told her, well, as long as you don't fire me for making a mistake, sure, I'll take it. You know, because I was just raised to take any opportunity that you get, and at the time the job was more than what I was making as a receptionist, and I had loans to pay. So I said, sure, let's just see if this opportunity will lead to something, and it did. You know, with music, at the time, you know, I took lessons up until I was about 12, and I still read music, I still played music, and I knew it was something that I always wanted to do. But when you're young, unless you're a part of programs like Certificate of Merit, unless you're part of like an academy or conservatory, you're not really exposed to a lot of music theory. You can play anything, but you kind of don't really know what it is that you're doing. It's kind of like being able to speak English, but not knowing how to read, write, what grammar or syntax, you know, so you can speak, but you can't really be a master of it. And that's how it was for me with music. I could read music, I could play it, but I didn't have the background to do what it was that I wanted to do. You know, to be a good film scorist, you need to know theory, you need to know how instruments work, you need to know a lot of things. So I didn't see it as a waste of time. You know, back in 2009, you couldn't really teach yourself a lot of things like you can now. In 2009, you didn't have YouTube piano instructors who were teaching you theory and teaching you how to do certain things. You didn't really have that. I mean, we still had the internet, obviously, but it wasn't to the point where it is now, where you can learn anything on YouTube. So, you know, I just felt that, you know, since God has given me a gift of music, it's my responsibility to be a good steward of it, and it's my responsibility to hone it and do the best that I can do with it. You know, for me, music is an escape. It suits me pretty well because my brain is bilateral. They often say, you know, most people are left brain dominant or right brain dominant, and I know I just pointed to the wrong sides of my head. But my brain is bilateral, meaning that both parts of my brain process information simultaneously. I blame that on being a born lefty and being forced to switch in the first grade. So I think my brain has some trauma there. But it really helps me because I work in an environment that's math dominated, accounting, business dominated. And that really uses one side of the resources of my brain. I oftentimes work a full day and then I go home and I just play, you know, because I've been using that one side of my brain for 12 hours. And then I can go home and use the other side of my brain and just kind of relax and detox. So music plays a really big, plays a big importance in my life. So no regrets. So I graduated Jessup with about 28 grand in debt, which isn't that bad. I probably had to pay about 6 grand a year in loans. So I graduated Jessup with about 28,000, and then my graduate program was about 23,000. So all in all, my student loan package at the end of the day was about $51,000. I was never really intimidated by it, but I knew that it was something that I had to do. It was a responsibility that I had, and it was my job to follow through with it. I remember it came more apparent to me while I was in the middle of my MBA program. When I got the job at Thunder Valley, and if you've never worked for a casino, you have to go through this rigorous background check where you have to essentially list all the things that you've ever done. You essentially have to be a perfect person. You know, you can't have any crimes, you can't have a ticket on your driving record, you can't do anything. Part of that is a financial background check, and I remember when I talked to the lady at the casino who gave me my results back, I was looking through it. I said, you know, this has a credit score number on here. I don't have a credit card, I don't have anything. You know, why do I have a credit score? And she asked, well, do you have student loans? And I said, yeah, I do. I will obtain more once my MBA is done. And she said, well, that's why. You know, you have loans out, and even though you're not paying them right now, that's what that is. And I just thought, holy crud. Credit score number was a 680, and I just thought, everything that they say, you know, you need good credit, you know, to take out a loan on a car or to buy a house. You know, I thought, I'm 21 right now, and already I have a credit score. They didn't teach me that. I always knew it was a responsibility of mine, but I think when I saw that, that's when I really thought, okay, I need to come up with a plan, because if I default on these, if I go bankrupt, no, I don't want that to be my life. So that's when it really became real to me. And I just thought, wow, I better not screw this up. I gotta take the initiative on this. I was never really intimidated by them. I just didn't like the thought of debt. You know, the last time I was not in debt, I was 17 years old. I just thought, you know, I want to get out of debt as fast and as soon as possible. And everyone just was like, why? Why would you do that? And I just thought, because I don't want to be in my 40s still paying off student debt. I always kind of felt that my peers at the time, and even now, didn't really have the same mindset that I had. I wanted to be debt-free as soon as possible and as effectively as possible. So that was my overall goal. It didn't really matter if I was intimidated or not. I needed to get out of debt, so that's what I did. So the approach that I had towards spending down student debt was to pay it all off at once. When I was in grant accounting in Sacramento, I was only making $18 an hour. I wasn't making bank. After taxes, I probably brought home $2,200 a month, and I still had rent, I had auto insurance, you know, phone bill, student loans. So I decided to pursue additional means of income. So I was fortunate to work for a music studio for about 2 years after my 9 to 5. So I would work at 6 o'clock in the morning, I would leave at 3 p.m. I would drive to Roseville, and I would work probably from 3:30 to 6 p.m. teaching about 15 students on average. Well, it was great because I probably earned about an additional $1,200 a month. So that paid for my rent, that paid for my student loans, that paid for everything. Then I kept what I made at my 9 to 5 job, my full-time job, I kept that in the bank. And then what I did was, through some friends who had house sitting gigs that they couldn't do anymore, they transferred that to me. Probably every other weekend I was house sitting for cash. I did the best that I could with just having as many streams of money that I could. Especially because, you know, when you work in accounting, it was hard to kind of be like, okay, let me go and see if I can find somewhere else to work, because a lot of accounting jobs, especially when you're entry level, they want at least 2 years experience before you can go on and kind of move up the ranks. Now, I was fortunate with the job that I had, but I just wasn't making a lot of money. Rather than kind of going the Dave Ramsey route, pay off the smallest loan that you have and then kind of work your way up there. I'm not a risk taker and I'm a planner. So for me, I always operate out of the worst case scenario. What if I get laid off? What if the market crashes? What if I have to quit my job for whatever reason because I'm paying off these loans, these large loans? My thought process was, if ever the worst case situation happened, any money that I was saving up would be my buffer. That's the reason why you have a savings account. So that was my strategy. You know, I saved up as much money as I could. I made my monthly payments for 3 years. And then August 2017 is when I paid off all of my student debt. It kind of stressed me out because it took 2 weeks for the bank to process it. So I saw it leave my bank account, but my student portal for paying off the loans didn't update for about 2 weeks. So that was my strategy. It's not everybody's strategy. You could go and YouTube different people, because I've done this, you know, who say, yeah, go this way, go that way. Everybody's life is different. Everyone's life is situational. You know, I was paying rent. I wasn't living at home. My strategy was different, and it's going to be different for everybody who has different circumstances. I chose to pay it all off in one lump sum. So it took me about 5 years to finish college, and it took me 3 years to pay off the student debt, almost to the exact date. From September 2014 to August 2017. Yeah, there were a lot of sacrifices that I had to do, but I think they were all worth it. I can't be eating out. I can't be going to the movies when I want. I can't be going out and partying with people. You know, I have a responsibility. It didn't mean that, you know, you couldn't celebrate. One of my friends at the time, her name is Rachel, she got a promotion to be an office manager, and we went out and we had sushi at Blue Nami. Because, you know, I wanted to celebrate that with her, and I wasn't going to tell her, sorry, I can't spend $25 on sushi right now. No, you budget for stuff like that. The sacrifices that I made, I think, were absolutely worth it because I'm able to do all those things that I couldn't do now. I remember one time I had a friend, well, she's still a friend, from Thunder Valley. The first time we hanged out, you know, I told her, hey, you know, I'm on a budget. I'm trying to spend down my student debt. You know, I can't go out and spend a lot of money, you know, so is it possible that we can just have, you know, quality time? You know, let's go to the Dollar Tree and buy $5 worth of candy or something and just hang out. And I remember, I remember the first time we hanged out in her apartment, and her roommate didn't like having the air conditioning on. We were talking, and I think we were finding like inspirational movies and things to watch on YouTube, and so we found Brene Brown, who had a 6-hour-long talk, and we're like, yeah, let's watch that. And then like 10 minutes into it, we were passed out of sleep because it was so hot. And I remember I woke up like face down on the floor, and we still laugh about it till this day because we had 6 hours of quality time that we had no idea that we had until we woke up. Those are the things that you can look back on that didn't really cost anything other than you know, losing water weight because it was so hot. Now that I am debt free, you know, if I want to go and have a coffee at Starbucks, I don't have to worry about that breaking my budget. If I want to go out and have sushi with a friend, or if I want to go see a movie just by myself, you know, I don't have to worry, hey, is this $12 going to be something that's going to prohibit me in the future? With the whole coronavirus going on, it's a little different now. I have to kind of go back to those old ways of thinking. But I think those sacrifices were very, very appropriate because it only allowed me to achieve my goal faster. And yeah, I think the sacrifices were well worth it. Ain't it fine living in the real world? I think I did, but I think that a lot of it has to do with me as a person. It has to do with how I was raised. From the ages of 12 to 16, I was working. You know, you never saw me on the weekends. I mean, I didn't grow up in you know, a middle-class family. And there were times where we were financially, you know, there were some hardships. I mean, we were fine, but when I was 16, you know, I was paying for my own car insurance, I was paying for my phone, I was paying for any clothes that I wanted. You know, my parents kind of taught me responsibility at a very young age, so I think when I graduated Jessup, I still had those ideals with me. I was also the first in my family to ever go to college, let alone get a master's degree. So they didn't really have any tools or resources for me. I kind of had to learn that all on my own. I think I was prepared. I think that's why I didn't really fit in with, my music major friends, because I was one of the few that would openly say, I don't think any of us are gonna get jobs when we graduate. If we do, we're gonna be in the same interview waiting rooms looking at each other, because those are gonna be very slim pickings. No, I think I was very prepared for the real world, and I'm grateful that I was, because if I weren't the person that I am, I don't think I would have gotten to achieve being debt-free at the rate that I was able to do it. I think I would suggest the following 4 things. First, start a plan and commit to it. Everyone's gonna have a different plan. If you can be debt-free in 5 years, if there's a way to do it, then do it. If that's gonna take maybe 10 years instead of 5 years to do it. Everyone's gonna have a different plan. Everyone's gonna have a different circumstance. But do it to the best of your ability, and do it with as much commitment as you can, and surround yourself by people who are going to encourage you in that. The second thing is be flexible. Be willing to take jobs that you may not want to do. I avoided accounting like the plague. I did not want to do it. But if I never did that, I would have never gotten more money in my paycheck. I would have never gotten to create a career out of it. And I never would have realized that I actually like accounting if I never said, okay, fine, let me take this opportunity and do it. Just because we have a degree doesn't mean that we have to be married to that field for the rest of our lives. If there's a job that'll pay you 30 bucks an hour and you're qualified to do it, go for it. You never know what opportunities it's gonna bring. You never know what promotions or where opportunities are gonna lead you. I never thought that I would be at the place where I'm at now. That never would have happened if I would have said, no, I just wanna be in human resources, so I'm not gonna take this accounting tech position. No, I didn't do that. So I would just say be flexible, be willing to adapt, be willing to do things that may be uncomfortable in terms of, a long schedule or doing multiple jobs, if it's gonna help you get to your plan of being debt-free faster. I think it's worth it. It's gonna save you so much time in the long run. You're gonna get to your goal sooner, and you're gonna have the ability to adjust your life afterwards as to how you wanna live it. So I say be flexible. Going along with my experience, I would say find additional means of income. If you're a musician, go work for a studio. If you're an athlete, teach private lessons. If you are an artist, create and try to sell your work at coffee shops or wherever. There's a place in Auburn that does that. It's actually kind of cool. Whatever additional means of income that you can bring in, do it. If that means that you're gonna Uber or you're going to do Grubhub or whatever the case may be, do it. Nowadays with the coronavirus, that might not be as feasible. If that means house sitting, if that means babysitting, being a YouTuber and creating content and finding a way to make revenue out of it, do it. Do whatever you can to bring in extra means of income for yourself, because it's only gonna make your life better and it's only gonna make it easier. And just make sure it's legal. I think the last thing I would say is just start saving now. If you're a freshman or even a senior, find part-time employment and save up now. When I was a junior going into my senior year at Jessup, I was working at Starbucks almost full-time. And I probably saved about $7,000 by the time I actually graduated. Because I still had to pay off my car, I still had to pay, I had all these other expenses even though I was living on campus and going to school. I was also back when we made $7.50 an hour. So the minimum wage was different. If you can start saving now, do it. I would say network with the resources at the campus. Get your resume beefed up, start networking. I know I hated networking when I was younger. I thought that was stupid, but it's one of the fastest ways to actually get a job. It's all about who you know. Start working now. Gain as much money as you can before you graduate, because it's only gonna make your life easier. It's gonna give you that cushion, and it's gonna be that extra edge that you're gonna have going into the workforce. All right, well, I think that's it. Thank you for letting me talk forever. Study hard, don't get sick from the coronavirus. If you guys do need help, by all means, let me know. I'll link up my contact information to this video. Not everyone is financially savvy. Not everyone can keep track of a budget. Not everybody is good with money. We all come with our own strengths and weaknesses. If you are thinking about student debt and you just have this overwhelming sense of fear and panic, I would just say partner with people who are going to be able to help you in that. Partner with people who do have that as a strength and learn what you can from that. You can always contact me if you want to know more about my story, if you want to know more about the details of what I did, how I kept track of things, or if you want some strategies. I'm helping a few students right now with that. So if you want some ideas or suggestions or just someone who can help keep you accountable, let me know. More than willing to help you out. Talk to you later.